I cannot believe how big a comeback 3D platformers have had these past couple of years. Not only have we seen some long-awaited big-name titles, but a lot of nicher stuff has also managed to return. Whether they get an HD port for new consoles, or an entirely new game altogether. But hey, let's not forget that indie scene too. God, do you remember when there was like one big 3D indie platformer that everybody was talking about? Nowadays, we got more than I can even count. I've been seeing more 3D platformers flying out of the indie sphere than ever before. So many, in fact, that it would be kind of impossible to make videos about them all, as much as I would like to. So I figured, why don't I just play a whole bunch of them and jam them on the one video? Let's talk about them all, why not? So, yeah, here's a pretty rad collection of dope 3D platformers I've been scooping up out of the indie scene this past couple of years. I'm gonna be taking a solid look at all of them, going over what I love, a couple of things I don't like, I'm gonna show the mechanics, the levels, the premises, all that jazz. Let's see if we can find anything cool. First up, we got one that I've been waiting on for about a decade. I played this game back when it was first in like alpha or something. The guy making it used to send me builds of it back when my channel was really small, and he would ask me for feedback and stuff, and I would always be like rather impressed with everything he would show me. But dude, I can't believe it. It is finally out, a love letter to classic 3D platformers. We got Clive N Wrench. The evil Dr. the evil Dr. Daukus is messing with the flow of time, which evidently adds up to planetary destruction, so it's up to Clive, Wrench, and Professor Nancy to go on a time-hopping adventure, collect a bunch of bullshit, and stop Daukus's influence on time and space. The Banjo-Kazooie inspiration may seem pretty obvious, what with the dual protagonist name, the little guy in your backpack, and the open-world collectathon gameplay, but deeper under the hood, it starts to become incredibly obvious that this dude's played all sorts of platformers. Not only is the game chock full of references to tons of obscure-ass 3D platformer games, but everything in this game, it really feels like it's taking influence from not one, not two, but all kinds of 3D platforming classics. The characters and plot remind me a lot of Crash 3, but the main duo and areas feel more like Banjo-Kazooie. However, the gameplay and level design feels more like Spyro. Oh my god, I love how forward-moving it feels, the dash, the hover. The hover kind of looks like the helicopter hair, but it feels more like you're soaring forward. The jumping is a tad floaty. I kind of wish you had a bit more weight to the character, but it does make the platforming very easy and forgiving. With the double jump on top of that too makes it even easier. Getting yourself around is really convenient in this game, and oh my god, the high jump too. You do that thing by jumping out of the crouching animation, and it is OP as hell. Look at this, dude. And you know me, I'm the Mario 64 nut. My first thought was whether or not this was going to start to feel a little bit too simple or monotonous or, automated, but I was happy to see that the overtly forgiving movement ended up lending itself really well to what you do here. Not everything has to be about the skill of the jump. No, here it's all about exploring really interesting and fun locations that have tons of personality, popping off and flying all over, scooping up everything you can find. And with all of the fun coming from the exploration, that kind of means the levels have to be the thing that carries the game, and, well, when you have a world that looks like this, it already seems like that's totally where all the focus went. And that is very much the case. Like, the presentation here is just loaded with love and care. Stuff like the character animations, that's not really gonna feel super high budget or anything. You can tell it's mostly a one-person endeavor, this game. But the attention to detail, despite that, like just how much stuff is here, it is kind of bananas. This is the sort of thing I really loved the Gex games for, just having a reason to stop and smell the roses, panning the camera over all the stuff plastered over the walls, all the little writings and jokes they planted around the level. Oh my god, don't even get me started on the menus! The main menu is actually one of the coolest menus I've ever seen in a 3D platformer. Everything being these little sticky notes on the fridge. Dude, it is the kind of personality that we just don't really see from games anymore. They even have one of those logos where the characters pop out and mess with it and stuff. Oh my god, dude, like every little element here is just seeping with that exciting imagination that 3D platformers used to be known for. But even more importantly, it also feels like they played enough platformers to also know what not to do. How to avoid all those tiny little problems that always bog down those old games. The combat is a really good example. They do not waste your time at all with this. It is quick and to the point, just like Banjo, just like Spyro. No health bars, no mashing a punch button until you drain it. No, you just ram into them and watch the delightful characterization unfold as they bounce away like a Looney Tunes character. You can even run into the ragdolls afterwards and mess with them Dark Souls Souls style. The ratio of level size to collectible count is also really nice and comfy. You even have a little radar to point you in the direction of the last handful still lost in the haystack. And I gotta tell you, I'm pretty sick of that at this point, so thank you. It's a game very focused on doing one thing well and sticking to that. You're not going to be yanked aside to do some frustrating mini-game or have an objective that sticks out as, oh, it's the annoying one. No, Clive N Wrench knows exactly what it wants to be, it keeps its focus, and delivers thoroughly engaging platforming gameplay, where the worlds are always interesting and the movement is always fun. Seriously, I played this game for 5 hours straight, and dude, it just felt like the time flew past me. Now, that's not to say the game is without its flaws, and, you know, I'm not just talking about the obvious stuff that is inevitably going to come from a huge workload on a tiny amount of people. Stuff like animation sometimes feeling kind of weak, or weird pacing with load screens, or all of the minor technical hiccups, which, you know, I guess I kind of did see a lot of that even on PS5, but that's, of course, the sort of thing I would urge you to look past. Judge it for the gameplay, judge it as a small project, instead of the same way that we should judge big budget stuff. I mean, if anything, it totally adds the whole charm of the experience, seriously. This game really feels like an HD version of those days where games didn't need Hollywood-sized budgets before people would take them seriously. Back then, it was totally okay for stuff like clipping and stiff animation to be in it here and there because, well, we would look past those things. We saw the actual gameplay for what it was, and we saw the magic of the experience. So, with that said, if there's anything real to critique here, personally, I would argue it's the stuff surrounding character damage. I find the feedback for taking damage isn't really super clear. The character also doesn't blink during the iframes either. It made trading blows with enemies feel really clunky. A lot of times I'd take way more damage than I even realized, and I would die unexpectedly because I had no idea my health was even that low. I think a stronger, more attention-grabbing visual to convey that you lost health, that could help a lot. I mean, I know the counter is there in the corner, but with so much going on in an HD screen space, my attention gets pulled away from it so much that I don't even really notice it a lot of the time. In Mario 64, you know when you get hit. Same in Sonic. Spyro. There's an unmissable visual and audio cue that make that feedback snappy and immediately understandable. Clive N Wrench could certainly be a lot better at that. Projectiles also sometimes really blend into the background, making them really hard to even dodge. This one boss fight, it was particularly bad. I really think they should add some sort of highlighted effect to make the objects stand out from the background a lot better, kind of like all those flashy effects in Smash Bros. It's just something bright and easy to read to make the fight a little bit easier to respond to properly. But small stuff aside, dude, Clive N Wrench is a fantastic throwback to classic 3D platformers. It more than makes up for that low budget with a clear passion for all the games that made us love this genre to begin with. It's endearing as hell, it's a ton of fun, and I'd absolutely recommend it to anybody who's a longtime fan of 3D platformers. Now, I was playing the PS5 version, so all of the nice and crispy footage you've been looking at here, it's all from that, but I also tried the Switch version real quick just to see how it runs and stuff, and it's actually not much of a visual downgrade. It is 30 FPS, but other than that, all of the detail that really matters, it's all still here and it looks great. Moving on, we've got one with a very different tone. If Clive N Wrench kind of feels like a Banjo or Spyro game, then Hell Pie is more like Conker's Bad Fur Day. You are a cute little devil dude working at Hell's greatest corporation when you're tasked with something a little unusual from head office. Collect the ingredients for the shittiest, most disgusting pie of all time, cause baby, it's Satan's birthday, and he wants a pie just as rotten as he. So, you'll roam a series of open worlds searching for the ingredients. Sometimes they're just laying around in the level, and other times you'll have to complete absurd and raunchy objectives for NPCs. Or sometimes you'll just simply have to finish a long platforming sequence. The whole gimmick here is this grapple. You got this ugly angel pet thing. It's kind of disgusting looking, but you can use it as a grapple. And not just any grapple, but one you can use literally everywhere. No grapple point required. Combine that with a double jump and a dash move, and you've got a pretty fun variety of moves to juggle between as you soar around each area. As you unlock extra swings, amongst other moves in a cool skill tree, you'll create a pretty busted-ass moveset that is OP as hell, and just let you demolish the level design, which normally I think kind of makes the levels not that fun to play, but no, they get away with it here for two reasons. A, like Clive N Wrench, the fun of the game comes from exploration, and you are navigating gigantic open worlds, so having the ability to really fly through them, it makes a lot of sense. And B, the actual linear platforming sequences that do require that sort of skill still manage to be really fun and interesting because of how many freaking obstacles they got going on here. And you know, the vertical nature of a lot of areas also really helps get the most out of the moveset. I really love that upward swing. That is so much fun just to pop out of and get some height real quick, and the climbing too, that also makes it all feel very fluid getting around. It kind of feels like they took a lot of notes from tons of different platformers and then sewed together this thing that not only works pretty well, but also feels really unique too. All the different horns you collect that grant you different abilities, it kind of reminds me of A Hat in Time, all the different hats you got. You got one for speed, you got a battering ram for breaking stuff, the starting one's super handy, it lets you search for anything of interest far off in the distance. And I love how you're able to combine the jet horns with your grapple to get some serious momentum from the swing. Oh my god, like, learning to get the timing just right every time, it is a super satisfying feeling. The physics on this grapple, I gotta say, like, they definitely made sure the thing you're doing constantly feels good as hell. And of course, there is also a very strong focus on the humor and writing, and buddy, you are in for one raunchy ride. Think like the in-your-face cartoonish awfulness that Whiplash had, but with the ESRB rating cranked up to mature. Sometimes it feels like Eric Andre made this game. I mean, the very first thing you see after you press the start button is literally this. Like, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of this game did have me kind of rolling my eyes. Not every joke was really landing for me. Like the whole Ren and Stimpy humor where they just show you something disgusting. Never found that funny, not even as a kid. Always hated Ren and Stimpy, and I hated when SpongeBob would do that shit too. But luckily, the further I did play, the game was getting the occasional chuckle out of me. You know, it's more so the juxtaposition between how cute the characters are and how horribly awful the things you'd expect from hell to be. And I mean, some of it can be a lot, right? You got beached whales having their meat carved out from the inside and sold at a sushi restaurant inside the fleshy thing, factories churning meat from these shriveled up, naked, starved human slaves. They do not hold back. It is a very crass and crude game. I mean, for crying out loud, this is the game where you unlock new abilities by collecting these cute little critters and brutally sacrificing them and tearing their horns off and putting their dead bodies on an altar and draining the blood from their corpses. Wouldn't really blame somebody for not being able to stomach some of it, in the same way that, like, Binding of Isaac is, right? You got poop, blood, and guts everywhere. Some people would probably just find it gross, but it is all just in good raunchy fun, and from what I could tell, at least from what I played, doesn't really seem to punch down at anything real. Also, kind of worth appreciating how a lot of this humor explores the world a little bit. I love these charts showing you how global warming has also been affecting Hell, and the fact that apparently even Hell's offices are so freaking boring that people would rather watch a DVD screensaver hit the corners. Just getting to see what everything looks like in a goofy, cartoonish Hell, that's pretty much what I wanted from this game, so it was really cool seeing what a store looks like in Hell, what a business looks like, what an IT department looks like. It was really cool to see. One of my favorite missions has you defending this drug lord's supply, and dude, it is a psychedelic-fueled Scarface parody, complete with a mansion shootout and everything. They straight up give you a shotgun here, not just for the sake of some good variety, but also for the sake of that M rating. It is a delightful, bloody massacre. Your angel buddy also constantly makes jokes, and if I'm gonna be brutally honest, I kind of hate it. The speech bubble keeps popping up, and it waves around the screen, and it's just really distracting and annoying. They absolutely know that though, because luckily there's an option to turn it off, so if that keeps popping up and you're getting annoyed with it, don't worry, you can just get rid of it. But yeah, if I could wrap it all up in one of those simple sentences that just combines two games to make it easy, I'd say it's A Hat in Time meets Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's cute, the movement's OP, but it does feel good, and the worlds are incredibly fun to get lost in as you twirl around each map. The level size is really big, but again, the little searching horns you have is really good at giving you leads to look for. Hell pies on pretty much everything, though I did play the Series X version for this video, and while it looked gorgeous and polished as hell, I did still notice the occasional graphical hiccup. And that said, I don't know how the previous generation versions run, so maybe look into that before picking it up for like Switch or PS4 original. It's a really fun game. I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I expected, so I would absolutely recommend it if you're a big fan of open world collectathon platformers, especially if you're a fan of raunchy humor. Here is one I've been meaning to play for a long time. My favorite indie duo over at Analgesic Productions. They are back at it again. They blew my mind with Anodyne. They put me in Anodyne 2. And now they're back with another experimental 3D platformer called Sephonie. No, I'm joking. It's Sephonie, I think. Oh crap, I don't know now. We follow 3 scientists on their way to the titular uncharted island of Sephonie in order to study the fauna and flora there, learning about their biology and their ecosystems and whatnot. However, it turns out this island, it's like this greater ethereal being, in the same way that our own human bodies are a very complex series of smaller systems of life interacting with each other, cells and tissue and stuff. Everything on this island, whether it be a plant or a lizard or anything, it too somehow contributes to this greater consciousness. And get this, it is just as excited and interested and curious of us as we are of it. As we study each creature using the brain-linking tool called Onyx, Sephonie will study us back, watching our memories, learning the significance of human culture and how we interact with each other, our differences in language, nationality, the food we eat, the buildings we build, the music we make. There's a lot of fantastic characterization here, exploring how the 3 protagonists are all from different countries and how that shaped them into who they are now, and there's a sense of self-discovery in all of that, like figuring out who you are and what you want to leave behind while you're here. You can play as all 3 of them, it doesn't matter who you pick actually. They all control the same and they don't have any unique abilities or anything, so you just pick the one that you like looking at the most, I guess. I ended up playing as Amy for most of the game. I don't know why, I think something about looking at the color red just kind of felt natural while playing a 3D platformer. And wow, are these platforming mechanics ever unique? Like, I have not really played a platforming game that controls and plays quite like this before. And you know I've played everything under the sun at this point, but I can tell you right now, like this feels remarkably refreshing. There's 2 major moves you're going to be bouncing between. There's the wall run and this little dash that'll pop you off of whatever you hit. If you want to get a wall run going, you'll first have to get a run going. So you smack down that shoulder button and you'll lock yourself into this forward moving sprint that kind of controls like tank controls. You're like steering the character like a car. It's got a really good sense of like deliberacy to it. You gotta give yourself enough room and really try to line it up, and you get this awesome, satisfying, weighty, and hefty jump out of it. So, while running, just run and jump at a wall at like, you know, a rough 45-ish degree angle, and you're golden. The way you're always bouncing between these 2 moves, it is so much fun to navigate the environments with them. You can even pull off a bunch of tricky-dicky bullshit, and there's always stuff. There's always stuff in those weird crevices where it's like, hey, I wonder if I can get all the way over there. Oh, there's a thing over here. Grabbing all of the hidden collectibles locked away in all of those weirdo spots that require a lot of scanning and thinking and figuring out how to string your moves together to get to it. Buddy, I was having a goddamn blast just trying to find all of the little knickknacks here. The level mechanics are also really neat. You got these seeds that grant you a high jump, platforms that dissolve when you strike them that you can re-solidify with a switch. We got these bounce pads that'll earn you back another dash when struck. There's dandelion fluffs that'll let you glide for a little bit. I really love these little critters that you can grapple to. They're always introducing really fun new ideas that create these puzzling environments that you really gotta look around and try to think of a way to platform through it all. Honestly, it kind of brings a whole new meaning to the phrase puzzle platformer. I almost kind of wonder if that's what the goal was to begin with. Well, I mean that, and there's also this actual puzzle game element to it as well. This happens when you're studying each creature. You get to do this little mini game where you're placing down blocks and there's tiles with like multipliers and stuff, and you're trying to get a lot of the same colors together to clear them out and build the meter. It's surprisingly addicting too for how simple it is. Every time I would get on one of these things, I would just find myself lost in it. And the music too, that really helps. Like, I could not imagine something more pleasant to be listening to while you tackle these little puzzles. puzzles, Mello's really outdid himself. If you think all of this just looks like annoying crap and you don't want to do it, and you just want to platform and or enjoy the story, then hey, you can just make them easy as heck by going into the options, and then yeah, you can just get through them way faster this way. You gotta love those accessibility options that allow you to control the experience you have a little bit more. I mean, hell, if you want, you can just give yourself infinity dashes or even infinity jumps and just fly through the game. I guess you could take your Game Genie and chuck it in the trash now. Apparently they just have this sort of thing in the options these days. And I am just in love with the way this game looks, too. It really feels like a natural evolution of the visuals from Anodyne 2. The surrealism is dialed back quite a bit, but you can still expect fantastical looking environments. All of these otherworldly colors, the coral growing out of the ceiling and everything. I mean this in the greatest way anybody possibly could. Sephonie looks like an HD GameCube game. The simpler textures, the lower-ish polygon count, but most importantly, the way the modest budget makes them get really creative with how they convey a lot of things. The writing is also just amazing. Like, Marina has this incredible ability to make every random little thing just incredibly interesting and endearing and fascinating. Even when characters are just talking about something as simple as making food, it just comes across in such a way that you really understand where the character is coming from and why they're reminiscing about these sorts of things. How many smaller working parts create the bigger picture. Whether it's atoms making cells, cells making us making society, or a bunch of little weirdo creatures making an ethereal island god, dude, man. Buddy, let me tell you, these two never fail to impress me. The gameplay here is incredibly smart, well thought out, and extremely fun and fresh for long-time platforming nerds like me. And the story and presentation are both just fucking immaculate. Like the Anodyne games before it, it certainly left me with some fuzzy-ass frickin' feelings. As of this video, the game is only on the computer, but man, it's only like $20. I'm borderline willing to call this a masterpiece, and they're charging pennies for it. Dude, if you like interesting platforming mechanics that are a lot different than your usual 3D platformer, and you like thought-provoking stories with fantastic themes and, tile puzzles, I guess, Sephonie is super amazing and absolutely worth your time and money. Next up, we got something a little bit more traditional. If you just want to play something simple, linear, and challenging as hell, then over here we have a tough-as-nails Crash Bandicoot-like called PsiloSybil. Or maybe it's PsiloSybil, I don't know. And I'm talking Crash Bandicoot 1. No double jump, no slide, no nothing. Just a single regular-ass jump, a basic attack, and that's all you get. I gotta say, the way it all feels, it's really good. The controls are tight as hell, man. The character physics, they give you a lot of control. It's very, like, no momentum Mega Man kind of jumping, or Crash Bandicoot. It's a Crash game. Why don't I just example Crash? Why is my brain always on Mega Man? I'm so sorry. They also have a really nice and clean sound effect, a very clear sound effect for every time you land, and they have a really satisfying front flip animation that lets you know that you've hit the apex of your jump. They certainly know to have all of those little things here that really improve the way the game feels. Feedback is key, and they totally get that. That's not to say that you are gonna have an easy time with this game, though. I mean, this is not for the faint of heart. If you have a hard time with difficult platformers and you don't really enjoy that kind of high platforming challenge, this is not going to be for you at all. This is the kind of thing that goes, okay, you like the hard stuff in Crash Bandicoot, you like how hard that game is, yeah? Alright, here's something even harder. See if you can beat this loser. This game is downright mean sometimes. These jumps can require really solid accuracy, especially during the boss fights, and like the Crash games, everything is gonna kill you in one single hit. You do have infinity checkpoints, however, so you can attempt every spot of the level as many times as you want, and I did find myself growing better and better with every attempt, slowly starting to fly through the parts that were previously giving me trouble. It is so gratifying getting better at it, though collecting every mushroom, now that's still pretty freaking hard. Now, I'm not the biggest Crash guy, so I can't really say how exactly it compares to getting all of like the Wumpa Fruit or the boxes in any of those games, but I can say that you will be finding yourself marathoning a lot of long, difficult obstacles without fail if you want to grab them all and rescue the character at the end of the level. They also totally nailed the PS1 aesthetics. They got the texture wobble and everything, and combined with such a delightful art direction, it more than looks the part, just in a clean widescreen. Really love this little guy's character design here too. Like, I'm a sucker for characters with very little facial features, stuff like Metabots and whatever, but this guy's just a little mushroom dude. He's got no face and the cap's covering where his eyes would be. It's just great. And before you make some funny joke about shrooms, well, they're actually way ahead of you. The name PsiloSybil comes from the name PsiloSybil, which is the naturally occurring psychedelic compound found in magic mushrooms, which of course goes hand in hand with the game's otherworldly and colorful art direction. It's very cool. The filters also kind of give off that effect where like the colors feel closer than the things that they're on. Not sure if that's an intentional part of the experience, but bonus points for that detail either way. But hey, if you're not big on retro filters and stuff, then you still got nothing to worry about because they give you a ton of control over the visuals. There's a bunch of options that allow you to tweak it into exactly the way you want. Personally though, I love the PS1 aesthetics, so I left it all cranked up, and I even plugged in one of those PS1 classic USB controllers for maximum effect. Felt right at home, like I was playing Crash Bandicoot on an old CRT. Though I sorta wish it had 4:3 ratio compatibility so I could fit it on a real CRT. I've been playing a bunch of PC stuff off of this thing lately, but of course that's just a dumb me thing. It'd be silly to actually criticize the game because I can't do my dumb nostalgia thing with it. If anything, the wider screen space is totally necessary to better telegraph the obstacles, and you know, the filters are pretty dang good at recreating that CRT feel anyway, so it's a net gain. You can't complain. Right now, currently, as of this video, it is only available on the PC. You can buy it on Steam, but there is a demo over on itch.io. It is an early access, but it doesn't really feel early access, right? It feels like a pretty chunky, good length, very fun, well-controlling game. Absolutely worth the 20 bones if it looks up your alley. Okay, there's some chunkier ones, you know, the ones that feel like full-fledged, full-length platforming video game adventures. But as of late, there's also been a lot of teensy tiny bite-sized platformers too. The sort of thing where it's like, yeah, you know, we're exploring a cool aesthetic and stuff, but we don't need like a full 6 to 12 hour game out of this, so it lacks the full game length. And with that, it also lacks the full game price. Toree 3D was the first one of these sorts of games I played. Brady told me to check it out forever ago, and he made sure I did not look up a single thing about it first. Really not sure why though. I mean, there's absolutely nothing strange about this platformer. I would just play it, and I wouldn't worry about a thing. Maybe I'll discuss further into it someday, but you know, I just want to put it out there for the time being. Play this blind sometime. It's $1. You have no excuse. The one I really want to talk about today though, just because like it really just hit all of the little things for me. It's this N64 throwback game called Super Kiwi 64. You're a little kiwi bird dropped into the sewers, which I guess is the hub world here, and we already have access to every level. Alright, so let's just pick one and start exploring. Man, they really just throw you right into this game. It is pure gameplay, no talking, no tutorials, no cutscene, it's just pick up and go. So it's a pretty simple open area collectathon like Mario 64 or Banjo or Gex or whatever. You're running around the world looking for stuff, you know, like rings to jump through, buttons to smack, or keys that open doors. The main collectible here, you know, like the stickies or the jars. I literally just said that, didn't I? We're getting these crystal hexagon pieces. I don't know what they are. There's something. Since we already have access to every level, there's no sense of progression or anything. The only goal is just to collect 40 of these so you can see the ending by jumping in the plane. But if you do collect all 48, you will open a secret final zone. So there is incentive to actually try and get every single one. Ooh, the controls here are really fun. Oh god, the moveset is so dope. The shoulder button gives you this boost, increasing your speed, and then you can carry that speed into these jumps. It's just a single jump, but you do have this little jetpack glide to carry that speed with you. Kind of like the Knuckles glide or Gex 3 when you have the cape. And you also have a little dash attack to get a little bit of extra distance, or you can just use it to knock out any nearby enemies too. So already you got two pretty fun moves here to bounce between, but what makes that dash so freaking fun is that you can stick yourself to a wall and jump out. You can just climb all over the levels wherever you want to go. Just flying around each stage and stringing these moves together is pretty damn satisfying for how little is going on here. There's not really a whole lot of challenge to it, but you know, again, it's more about exploring the level with utmost freedom than it is having like a challenging stage to go through. And I also think that they just completely nail the N64 aesthetics here. The low resolution HUD elements, the blurry textures that unveil just enough detail for you to know what you're even looking at, and a weirdly wicked and foreboding atmosphere too for some reason. You remember that creepy sensation the Shadow Temple gave you as a kid with the eerie music, the dark atmosphere, and all the 2D skeletons? It's a very similar thing going on here. No scares, no jumps, no, just this nice spooky sensation of like, where the hell did I end up? You know, for no other reason than it's just a fun vibe to explore, right? They're not trying to be a horror creepypasta thing. It's just fun gameplay and fun vibes, and that's it. It's short and sweet and dirt cheap too. I strongly recommend it if you like N64 aesthetics, some nice relaxing foreboding atmospheres, and speedy collectathon exploration gameplay. Oh my god, I had so many more video games I wanted to talk about, but this video is kind of getting too long and it's starting to take too long to make too, so I'm gonna put a cork in it here for now, but I hope that I was able to have like a good variety of stuff. Hopefully I was able to show you something that tickles your fancy or whatever. If you play your games on PC, I'll have all the links to like itch and Steam and stuff, where you can get all that down in the description below. Maybe I'll do more of these in the future. I would love to share more indie platformers I found in these short little bursts throughout a jam-packed video. I mean, after all, not only do I know of a bunch more that really do deserve attention, shout out Castle on the Coast, but there's even more on the way too, and I'm gonna have to catch up with them again somehow. So let me know what you think, but for now I'm gonna go back to reviewing old games, because I really miss it, and I got a big ass list of retro 3D platformers I really want to get through this year, including a lot of really long-ass requested ones too. Let's just say platformer fans should be eating good this year on this channel. Hope you guys will look forward to it all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you look forward to it all, and thanks for watching. YouTube video. Yo, what's good? Thank you so much for watching this video, dude. I love talking about 3D platformers, and I love being able to share them with people. And hey, if you like what I do on this channel and you would like to show your support, help me keep doing what I'm doing, I have a $1 podcast over on my Patreon where me and my buddy Brady, we talk about video games and we shoot the shit. And yeah.